Yeah, we can see your screen. Thanks, Renfei. This is the March 7th Eclipse OpenJ9 community call, jumping right into Renfei's lightning talk.
Oh, hi, everyone. Today I'm going to give a brief talk on a TKG feature called TKG iterations. Some of you may already familiar with this and are already using it. And for some of you that haven't heard of it, this talk will introduce a new way to repeat your test and increase your productivity. So before the TKG iterations, we have a Jenkins iteration, which is using the Jenkins script to iterate through the test. And here is a comparison between the TKG iterations and the Jenkins iterations. First of all, the TKG one is CI agnostic, which means you can repeat your test in your local development environment, while Jenkins, you can only do the iterations in the Jenkins grinder. And secondly, TKG iterations doesn't repeat the compilation. It only compiles the test material once, while the Jenkins, it just blindly repeat the compilations as well, which is a waste of time. And also TKG iterations has no iterations on the skipped test or the disabled test, while Jenkins doesn't do that. And we also provide two options for you to use. One is called exit failure, and another one is called exit success. This I will give more detail in the next slide. And also, TKG iterations will provide a summary of success rate in the end of the test output, and also in the test tab output. Well, for the Jenkins iterations, I believe you have to step into the test log and find each iteration result. The last one, TKG iterations, are also fully compatible with the AOT iterations, which is a feature we already have in the TKG. So how are we going to use it? For the local environment, it's simple. We just export TKG iterations to the number of repetitions you want to repeat your test, and also export exit failure or exit success to true if you want. For the exit failure, that means if it's true, that means the iteration will be stopped when the last iteration is failed. And for the exit success means we will stop iterations when the last iteration is successful. So they are useful when you want to triage a test. For example, if you want to see if you know the test is going to fail, but it happened to be success on some case, and you just want to check what's going on the success case, so you can turn on the exit success to true. And also for the TKG iteration, if we want to combine it with the AOT iteration, we can also do export test flag to AOT and export AOT iteration to 5 or any number you want. If you don't export AOT iterations, it still keeps the same default, which is 2. And the AOT iteration will be nested inside TKG iterations. I will show more example later on. And for the Jenkins environment, we have a similar TKG iterations. We can fill in with a number, and also we can check the box for each one. But it doesn't make sense if we check both of them. That means there's no iteration, because if last either is failure or success, we just stop iteration. So check one of them will be enough. And now I'm gonna show a demo on the Jenkins environment. So here in my grinder, I set TKG iterations to 3, and both of them just keep it to false. So in the actual test, we'll see that is a test case defined in the playlist XML, and the iteration will be based on the test case. So we'll see we have the first iteration, the second one, and also the third one. Each iteration will show the result if it's passed or failed. And in the end, we'll see, okay, the success rate is what, and what's the result based on, if one of them is failed, then it's failed. So, and we also have the test setup and test teardown between each iterations, because I believe iteration is standalone, and in the end, in the test target summary, we'll see, okay, for the disabled test, we don't do any iterations, but for the other tests, we see what's the success rate. And this success rate can be also seen in the tab plugin. So here we'll have a success rate, and for a test failed case, it will be after the output. And for this grinder, I turn on the exit failure and we'll keep the iterations to 3. Then we'll see for this specific test, it failed, and it just have one iteration and says iteration 1 failed, and it just go to the end, says that the test is failed. So there's since we turn on that option, so we might just stop right there. And for a success test case, it will be the same as the previous one. We have 1, 2, 3 iteration. And for this case, let's see. Yeah, for this case, I turn on the AOT flag. So we'll see AOT default to iteration 2. So we'll see the test iteration 1, and we do the setup, and we go into the AOT iteration. The first AOT iteration, we do the test. Second AOT iteration, we do test. Between the two AOT iterations, we don't do like test setup and teardown, which means we don't do share class cache cleanup. But after the AOT iteration is done and both are successful, then the first iteration is successful, then we do a test teardown. So we continue to do this for 3 times, and in the end, we have a success rate as well. And also this TKG iteration, it's also compatible with parallel if you want to have a parallel to dynamic and machine tune 2. And let's follow to this child build. We'll see in this child build, we also do these 3 iterations, but it's just subset of test based on the smart parallel. So yeah, so I think that's it for the TKG iterations. Do you guys have any questions? Yeah, so I will stop sharing my screen.
Thanks, Renfei. That's a pretty cool looking feature. I think that'll be a lot of use for reproducing problems.
Yes, thank you.
Screen sharing then. Hopefully everybody sees the agenda now. Pull up the end user issues. Looking at what's come in the last, there's 2 that have come in. One seems to be GC related, and Dimitri's already on that. The other, very recent. Looks like a hang. So we'll have to get somebody to take a look at that. Is there any of these that need discussion today, or anything that needs further investigation or some attention? Jump back to the agenda. That brings us to our release section and the 038 release. Did we get an M1 run for 038?
It's starting. We did 19. 19 is mostly complete. 038 will be this week. There was a bunch of blockers, and there's still a few more that we're working through. on the infra side.
So on 038, going to get that build this week.
Yeah, that's the plan.
All right. Just double checking. Do we have Pete on the call? Because he usually has the. I don't see Pete. We'll pull up the milestone plan. We've got 34 open items in the 038 release, which is probably too many to go through in detail. But it's worth asking everyone, if you own an item in this release, please do what you can to get it closed out. Or if it's something that you don't think can be closed out in time, please have a discussion with the relevant area leads to have the issue moved out. Is there anything else people want to touch on for the 038 release? Then that brings us to Java 19. Adam, you said the M1 build was mostly complete. Do you have a sense of how that looks right now? Pass fail rate?
I think it was okay. Jason did the triage on it.
Yeah, I could give a quick view. Not of value well known, and either JDK 19 specific. I already put a couple of new items there in JDK 19 milestone, but Babinit already put the comments that it could be a duplicate of early versions, could be closed. The test might be excluded, so that's very good to know. And there are a couple of more, I believe, was some issue not specific to the JDK 19, something like a hand. I cannot recall exactly the value. I put the notes in the issue, and that's happen in other Java level as well. And yeah, I don't, just as Adam said, the looks overall was okay, and I won't say there's any issue like blocking we publish in JDK 19 milestone 1. Usually we'll say if there's like a security issue or like a really frequent exception or heavily perf hit, so we will say blocker for the milestone publishing, so I don't see those. And the only thing I would like to mention, two platforms, if Adam, you might correct me if that was wrong, AIX and then Arc Linux, we don't have a build yet, so we saw those saw AIX build regularly in the nightly build, but the Arch Linux we don't see often. We did have a personal build run. It turned out okay. Yeah, just no milestone 1 build for those platforms yet, so might be no surprise there.
Let's take a look at the milestone plan then.
Yeah, so for AX, it was an issue because we switched to 7.2 for the compile level. Then it failed to compile, so we're trying to investigate that. We might have to roll back for now. And the JDK 19A Linux compile has been broken for some time. So we need to figure out what's going on there.
Right, so if we look at our Java 19 plan, why don't we start with the top item, the JVMTI suspend resume issue?
For that one, I've left it open because we just want to backport the fix to the 0.37 branch.
That's good to hear. All right, for the humongous stack issue, Jack.
So we've got down to the problem. It was due to some race conditions with scanning and the list add and remove. So once we've swapped to the using GC continuation list, we see the failure going away. There are still some other test failures related to the use of the GC continuation list to avoid the VM one. I'm still working on addressing those ones before I open a PR to get this resolved. It should also have a significant performance improvement to help avoid the lock contention in the Skynet hang and timeout issue.
Do you have a rough sense of when that PR will be ready to open?
I can have the PR open, I think, in a day or two, and then we'll just have to review it and see what everyone thinks about the change.
Right, so the pin a lot issue, do we have an update there, Daryl?
No progress on that one, but Annabelle will be taking over that issue to try to get us to the next step on that one. So hopefully she'll be making some progress on that in the next day or so.
Great, sounds good. Skynet failures on larger machines. Lynn? Lynn, are you able to provide an update on the Skynet failure?
Okay, I can tell.
Oh, hi.
No, it's
Sorry about it. My machine had some problem. Hi. The problem we have solution for. We did have solutions last week for fix the whole problem. The solution needed to introduce a new field in the J9VM thread. So now we try to thinking that there's some more simple solution that didn't require any new field. And currently has little problem for seems like time hole for the new solution. We're still working on that. Expecting we have something in this week or fix the problem with a new solution.
The Skynet.java hang timeout, do we have an update on that?
Yeah, Dan. So this is the one I've been discussing with the humongous stack one. So the hang timeout we're seeing is because of performance issues, and we're expecting a 3 to 4x performance improvement once the swap to avoid the lock contention is being done.
So we believe that'll fix this?
It should avoid us seeing the timeout, at least not hitting the timeout timeline on this one.
Timed get.java crash?
That one is macOS specific. I haven't had time to look deeper into it yet.
The field access watch segfault? An update on this?
The one on AIX,
Yeah.
Jimmy hasn't had a chance to look at that one yet. He posted an update this morning, but I asked him to give us an update on that soon, if he could.
The breakpoint in yield test? An update here?
Haven't been able to reproduce it locally, so I'm still looking.
And the final item in our list, the suspend resume 1 test.
So I think the breakpoint and yield test, there are two versions of it. And the suspend and resume one, I think, is a duplicate of the first one. We just enabled the test, so another variant of the failure was seen. And the fix, Deepak, who is a new member working in India, will be creating a PR to backport it to the 3.7 release branch. Once that happens, the two breakpoint in yield failure and the suspend and resume 1 failure won't be seen anymore.
Sounds good. Sounds like we're making progress here. Any other update on Java 19? With the Java 20 release then, have we, given where we are in 19, is it worth discussing 20? Has there been any progress on this front?
I think Chang has been working to unblock the builds. Maybe Chang can provide an update on where we are with.
Yeah, I think it's in Java 20, right?
Yep.
So we got everything fixed, or get everything updated against the latest API, and already have PR submitted for code review, for in terms of FFI implementation.
Okay, that's good to hear. Right. Adam, is there an update on the, sorry, I was about to skip the adopt update. Do we have an adopt update? Skip that. Adam, is there an update on the infrastructure?
Not much. Artifactory disk is fine. We did increase the page sizing on the Windows machines from 8 to 12 gigs. There was an intermittent issue going on there, so hopefully that resolves that. We'll keep an eye on it.
Don't see Marius on the call, so I assume no update on JIT server. No Marius, so probably no update on microJIT. Toby, do we have an update on the CRIU support?
No, nothing new to discuss this week.
The Apple Silicon work, do we have an update there?
Nothing major. I think the thing that we've been working on right now is just trying to, so with Xcode 14, we're having some trouble building on Mac OS. I don't think it's AArch64 specific, but we are working on addressing the various warnings that are popping up and to try to eliminate them so that the compiles go through. So a few PRs go by to address compiler warnings, and there's more to come still.
Okay. I see that we had said the compressed ref support might be coming in the April.
It's not coming in. Yeah, it's not coming in April. We have to figure out a new plan for that.
All right, any other topics that we want to discuss this week? All right, then thank you, everybody, and we'll call this here. We'll have the next one of these next week, and I believe we have another lightning talk next week from Sophia this time. So looking forward to that. All right, bye, everyone.